Be sure to pre-order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion as he takes you through the ins and outs of the most explosive offense and most exciting offense in college football. You can find it on our website at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Welcome to Football Game Plan, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the Playbook. Mike McCarthy is your producer today. It's the summertime and preseason is just around the corner in the NFL, and we'll get you ready for the upcoming 2019 NFL season as we preview the Atlanta Falcons. Now, as we kick off the season preview, let us take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the season as we go into our 4-minute offense.
Over in Atlanta, Matt Ryan is the franchise leader in passing with over 46,000 yards. He'll be looking to return to the form that brought him notoriety in 2016 when he was league MVP and played in the Super Bowl that season. With a trio of wide receivers headed by Julio Jones, Ryan has plenty of weapons at his disposal to get the Falcons back to the playoffs in 2019. In order to return to the playoffs, protection will be key for Ryan to play like an MVP again. In order to ensure that he stays upright, the Falcons selected 2 offensive linemen in the first round, guard Chris Lindstrom from Boston College and Caleb McGarry from the University of Washington at tackle. The heavy investment in the offensive line is a clear statement from GM Thomas Dimitrov that Matt Ryan's performance is the #1 priority in Atlanta. On the other side of the ball, 2018 was a season that saw many of the Falcons stars get injured. 2 of the defense's leaders in Deion Jones and Keanu Neal are looking to help the team improve on the league's 28th ranked defense. Offensively, Devontae Freeman was the star who got hurt. He only played in 2 games in 2018. A healthy team will be a major factor for the Falcons to win the NFC South. And Dirk Koetter returns to Atlanta after 4 years as the offensive coordinator and head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. During their 3 years together from 2012 to 2014, Koetter coordinated 2 top 10 passing attacks with Matt Ryan at the helm. Will he be able to do the same for Ryan in 2019? The relationship between Koetter and Ryan will be a determining factor on the Falcons' success next season.
It's time to put this team under the microscope and go position by position to see where they stand as we head into the 2019 season, and we'll start on the offensive side of the ball at the quarterback position. Matt Ryan enters his 12th season as the Falcons starting quarterback and is still playing at a very high level. Last season, he put together a statistical masterpiece with 35 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions, averaging 8.1 yards an attempt, which was his second highest of his career. He also completed 69.4% of his passes and posted a 108.1 passer rating as well, both of which were also second highest in his career. So, needless to say that the Falcons are still in great shape at the pivot position, which definitely gives them hope each and every season. Now, there is no talent shortage in the Falcons' backfield, but there are some questions on whether or not star tailback Devonta Freeman can stay healthy. His reckless but fun to watch running style yields himself to taking some unnecessary hits. Now, his numbers have steadily declined the last 2 seasons, so we'll see if he can get back on the right track. Ito Smith has some wiggle, but wasn't able to make a splash with more reps last year, so he's more suited to be a complimentary back. Now, 2 big backs to keep an eye on his roster are Brian Hill and 5th-round pick Quadri Allison out of Pitt. Both guys are stylistically similar and are very underrated receivers coming out of the backfield. Now, where the Falcons are very stable is on the perimeter. Julio Jones is arguably the best receiver, or at least one of the best receivers in the game. Mohamed Sanu has blossomed over the years into a consistent number 2 option, and second-year player Calvin Ridley is a budding star who scored an eye-popping 10 touchdowns as a rookie. I would expect to see his role grow more within his offense this season. He may even overtake Sanu as the number 2 option in the passing game. Now, spots 4 through 7 is where the battle will be this upcoming training camp. I think Justin Hardy can still cement himself as number 4. He's Mohamed Sanu-like, if you ask me. He's got really good hands and isn't afraid of contact. Keep an eye on undrafted rookie free agent Alameda Zacchaeus out of University of Virginia. He's got very good versatility, can be moved all around the formation, both as a runner and also as a receiver, and he also provides value as a returnman as well. Atlanta is strong at the tight end position also. Austin Hooper made the Pro Bowl last season after finally showcasing the skill set that made him a very good prospect coming out of Stanford. He's a matchup problem that'll continue to grow his game moving forward. I would also expect reserve tight end Eric Saubert out of Drake to do the same. He's entering his 3rd season in Atlanta and gives them another flex option at the position. Now, the team also signed Luke Stocker in free agency from the Tennessee Titans because of his capability as an inline blocker and also an H-back. Up front, the Falcons drafted 2 offensive linemen in the first round, Caleb McGarry out of Washington and guard Chris Lindstrom out of Boston College. Both are slated to start on the right side from day one. Now, Lindstrom was my top guard prospect in the draft this year. McGarry brings some good movement skills to the table at the tackle position. If those 2 players are able to play as they are expected to play like they did in college, the Falcons would have turned this offensive line from good to a significant strength, in my opinion. I say that because they're really strong everywhere else, with Jake Matthews at tackle, incoming free agent signing James Carpenter from the Jets at guard, and Alex Mack, the center, the longtime center, right there in the middle. Plus, the depth here is solid as well. I really want to see the growth, or want to see the growth, in second-year player Matt Gano and what he does this year. It's year 2 under offensive line coach Chris Morgan. Now, here's how I graded the Falcons' offensive units. Consistency is the name of the game with the Falcons' defensive line. The team would like to see both of its first-round pick edge rushers, Vic Beasley and Takk McKinley, play up to that lofty status on a more consistent game-to-game, down-to-down basis. Now, we've seen Beasley do it before a few years ago, but he has to get back to that in order for this defense to really become threatening. Now, McKinley will be looking for his first double-digit sack season of his 3-year career. Their inconsistencies actually leaves the door open for 4th-round pick John Kaminsky out of Charleston to make his presence felt. He's coming from the Division II ranks, and he's still a bit rough around the edges, but he has that dog in him like his teammate Adrian Claiborne, and that yields itself to both of those guys finding themselves in the backfield on a consistent basis. Now, Atlanta is much more stable on the interior with future All-Pro Grady Jarrett leading the way. The former 5th-round pick has blossomed into one of the league's best at the position. And I like what I saw last year from 3rd-round pick Dietrich Sinnett out of South Florida up front. He's another squatty defensive tackle like Jarrett, and that gives him a presence up front against the run. So does Jack Crawford. He may actually end up starting next to Jarrett, as he gives them a little bit more from an explosiveness perspective. And I love the fact that they went out and signed former St. Tyler Davison, another run stuffer, and brought back former Falcon and Rashid Hageman. And we'll see if he's ready to realize his immense potential Shalimar style in Atlanta. I like the linebacker core here for the Falcons, especially with a healthy Deion Jones back in the middle. Jones was sorely missed last season after he broke his foot. He's a 3-down backer with a knack for making a big play on both ends of defense. Devondre Campbell gives him a long, athletic sandbacker that does a great job of disrupting passing windows. And look for 2nd-year player Foye Oluokun out of Yale to take significant step forward this year in his progression. He played really well as a rookie, beating out Duke Riley for the will backer spot, and should put a stranglehold on that position in 2019. In the secondary, there are a few guys coming back from injury, 2 starters, in fact, in safeties Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen. If both guys are able to hit the ground running with no ill effects of the injury suffered last season, then this is already a significantly better unit. Outside of the fantastic DeMonte KZ, the depth is fairly thin at safety. Now, KZ can also drop down and play in the slot if need be, which may not have to be the case this year, as the Falcons selected Kendall Sheffield in the 4th round out of Ohio State, who I feel as though is the ideal slot corner within this defense. On the edges, Desmond Trufant is still one of the better corners in the NFC South, and 2nd-year player Isaiah Oliver out of Colorado looks to continue to make positive strides this season. I like both Bleedy Ray Wilson and 5th-round pick Jordan Miller out of Washington. Both guys will have a role within this unit this upcoming season. Now, here are my grades for the defensive side of the ball for Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons want to be a better running team this year, and I do believe they have the personnel to accomplish that goal. They drafted 2 guys on the right side in the 1st round, and Chris Lindstrom out of Boston College and Caleb McGarry out of Washington. When we look in the backfield, Devonta Freeman, Ito Smith, those are some guys that I would like to run these quick hitters on going against the grain. I'm going to draw up a play where it's a misdirection, it's a sprint draw, but it gives the illusion of an outside zone and allows the Falcons to get their quick personnel, their running backs, going back across the formation in the middle of that defense and off to the races. Showing what we're talking about here, we're going to make everything look like outside zone. And right now we have a strong set, 2 tight ends in the formation, but we're going to bring him back across the formation. But again, we want everything to look like outside zone. So our movements will look like that. Work him up to the 2nd level, get that backer block, work him back across as well. Help out with the nose, but work up to that backer. This is a critical block right here for this play. Going to try to get him turned this way to push him back. Same way with this tight end here. You bring this tight end over in motion, and he's going to kick out this over-aggressive linebacker. We're going to have the QB, Matt Ryan, open up as if he's going to hand off for an outside zone or a quick dive right here, quick gut play. But you're going to see as he drops back, hands the ball off, tailback's going back across the grain, which is why that block is key. That block is key. And the reason why these blocks are set up the way they are, because again, once you show outside zone motion, guess what? These guys will try to beat you to the spot and not allow themselves to get reached. But what they did was put themselves in better position to be blocked. We trust the back to beat this guy one-on-one, and this receiver will work up to the safety, to the corner, off to the races. So this is one way the Falcons can utilize their quick personnel to try to get better in the running game this upcoming season. Another area where the Falcons want to get better is in applying pressure. And a lot of that falls on the shoulders of former first-round pick Vic Beasley. They have to find ways to get him going. A lot of it is just winning those one-on-one battles and getting back to the form that we saw from him 2 years ago when they made it to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to show you a nice little stunt to get him going here. And it's nothing really complicated. Football is an easy game. So we're going to want to run a stunt between the tackle and Vic Beasley. And what you like about the Falcons personnel is the fact that they do have linebackers that can cover. They have Deion Jones, they have Foye Oluokun, they have guys like Devondre Campbell that can drop back and cover. So you don't even have to blitz these guys if you don't want to, but we're going to send some pressure with Deion Jones because he's a madman when you drop him or when you have him going straight through the backfield with a beeline to the quarterback trying to be disruptive. So we're going to show you how we can get pressure, get this guy here on the outside, contain pressure here. We're going to send this tackle right down the A-gap. You guys know I'm a double A-gap type of a guy. And we're going to send Deion Jones right down the weak side A-gap as well. Twist coming here. We're going to send the tackle outside. He's going to go first. Vic is going to take a jab step and come back around through that B-gap. And again, these guys are guys that you can trust in coverage. So again, a lot of it is just about being better than the guy that's in front of you and finding that one-on-one battle that you can win. And if Vic Beasley can bring back the form that we saw 2 years ago, the Falcons have more than enough talent to make a serious run in the division.
The Atlanta Falcons alphabetically are first up. Matt Ryan's going to put up numbers, folks. The season that everyone thinks Baker Mayfield is going to have, Matt Ryan is going to have. So you want to attack Matt Ryan, he's going to be good. You want to take him in that. I'm fine with as high as the 6th round on Matt Ryan, even though personally I'm a later bloomer guy. 7th round to 8th round is, again, where I want my quarterback personally. But Matt Ryan's going to put up numbers, folks. He's going to be top 3 at the position this year. Devonta Freeman, you might get lucky to do a combo on this. The Atlanta backfield is going to be super simple. It is Devonta Freeman's going to get 85% of the carries, maybe at least 75% until he's hurt. Then Ito Smith will get him. So if you can get Devonta Freeman where he's been falling in drafts to that 4th to 5th round range and then wrap back around the 8th round with Ito Smith, having that Atlanta starting backfield, that's a good move, folks. Good move. Julio Jones, he's going to put up numbers. He's Julio Jones. But Calvin Ridley, I think, will put up some solid numbers this year. It's all about value when you get him. If Ridley is there in the late half of the 16-round draft, if Ridley's there in the 8th round, grab him. If it's anything sooner than that, I can't really justify it because I can't have Ridley as my number 2 receiver if at all I can help it. Just because it's going to be inconsistent. Mo Sanu is a guy who you'll probably want to take very late in the draft, last pick of the draft, just so you can secure him because he's a good fill guy. If you ever need a guy on a bye week late in the season, or knowing the health of a guy like Calvin Ridley, who Mohamed Sanu can come and fill in. But he's not going to win you a league. He'll more just bolster your roster. I'm actually intrigued about Austin Hooper. I think because of the offense he plays in and the tight end position being as varied as it is, he could fall all the way to the 14th round, 13th round. And if you can get a guy who can start for you a tight end in the 13th or 14th round, that's ideal. That's ideal. And this is, if anyone has that chance, it's him this year because of the offense he plays in.
Troy Anthony here, bringing you the best bets for the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons' win line opens up at over/under 8.5 games. They have a pretty tough schedule this year. They have to play the likes of NFC West and the AFC South, and they're in a tough division as well. At plus 100, I'm taking the under 8.5 games. I do like their week 1 matchup though, as they have to go up against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm taking the Falcons plus 148 on the money line. Troy Anthony here. Follow me on Twitter @FootballFandom, replacing the O's with zeros.
I'm David Hassagen, and this is Huddle Up with Hassagen. We're going to fire off some quick fire takes on the Atlanta Falcons. There's some real breakout candidates for this team. Who are they for you?
Let's go with the FCS guys. On offense, tight end Eric Saulbert out of Drake.
Yep.
I think he's going to be a really good player for the Falcons. He shows that he has really good hands, can run good routes, and as a complement to what they have already in Austin Hooper, I think Saulbert's going to take a big step this year. And on defense, Foye Oluokun out of Yale.
Yeah.
Like this tape, came in, I thought he was going to be the weak side linebacker from day one. He ended up being the weak side linebacker, putting Duke Riley on the bench. So I think in year 2, look for him to step up and take the next step.
A couple of interesting rookies to watch here for Atlanta. Some big names in the first round. Is that who you're looking at?
I look at one of them. You look at guard Chris Lindstrom, who was my top overall guard prospect in his draft class. Second overall prospect in the draft class, regardless of position. He's going to be an impact starter for the Falcons. And Kendall Sheffield, I don't think people understand how good of a slot corner he is. He didn't test because he pulled I don't want to say it was a pec muscle at the combine. And so people forget how good of a corner he was because he didn't go through the whole testing drills. But Atlanta has a hole inside right now at slot corner. I think Sheffield's going to fill that void.
Who are those X factors you're going to look for the Falcons for this season?
I think the rookie right side. You talked about the 2 first-round picks. Well, there were 2 offensive linemen in Chris Lindstrom and Caleb McGarry. Those 2 guys were picked to be starters. And so now you're going to go into the season with 2 starters on the right side. They have to really have a huge season. And Vic Beasley, they really need him to be the difference maker on defense. If he can get back to what we saw 2 years ago, then this defense is going to look a lot like it did when it made the Super Bowl run. So Vic Beasley has to become the Vic Beasley we saw 2 years ago and the Vic Beasley that we saw at Clemson.
Who's going to surprise people in camp this year in Atlanta?
I think offensive line, Diego Joseph. He's a Florida international kid, bounced around the league, but I think he has an opportunity because this offensive line is looking for some depth. He can play tackle, he can play guard. I love his athleticism, especially I love his ability on inside-outside zone plays. I thought he does that. I thought he did that really well in college. And defensively, a former Falcon is now back in Rashid Hageman. So getting him back in the fold, I think is, a newfound perspective. Oh, hey, this opportunity was taken away from me. I now see the light, and I think he's going to have a really good opportunity to surprise folks in camp.
Why should people be optimistic or concerned with this Atlanta Falcons team?
The Falcons are not a bad team. You look at the depth chart, good receivers, good quarterback, good depth in the backfield. Defensively, they have talent within the front 7. Deion Jones is one of the best linebackers in the game. I think that right there gives you some optimism. Now, the cause for concern is that if they can't find a consistent pass rush, if on offense the right side doesn't prove to be up to speed as you would expect it to be with 2 first-round picks, if they can't find a running game, as the talent is there, but the consistency and the help has to be there. If they can't find a running game and they become one-dimensional, the team will miss the playoffs once again. Emory Hunt Lazar, the Playbook here, and joining me now is fellow football game plan analyst Troy Anthony for this 4 Downs with Lazar segment, continuing our preview of the Atlanta Falcons. And we'll take a look at the road to the Super Bowl for the Falcons. We'll start in the backfield like I always like to do. You look at the running game. If the running game with, Devontae Freeman and company, if they can revert back to their 2017 form, when they were able to run the football and close out games and really be explosive in that element, I think this team can definitely get back to what it was offensively. The running game was non-existent. Guys were injured. Guys weren't as effective. It wasn't a threat like it was in 2017 when they went to the Super Bowl. If they can get back to that form, then the Falcons can definitely get back to the playoffs.
Yeah, that definitely, health is going to play a huge issue. Can Devontae Freeman stay on the field and give them numbers? Now, they lose Tevin Coleman as well, so they lose a little bit of a PPR back. But I can't wait to see what Ito Smith does in his second year with the Falcons. But on the opposite side of the ball, their defense, their run-stopping defense has to improve. They were ranked 25th last year. It just seems like teams, whenever they wanted to put away the game, it was over because they weren't stopping them. Granted, this season they get Deion Jones back healthy. Hopefully he's that missing key and that flips it around for them.
Well, they also have to apply pressure because a lot will be asked from Tack McKinley, Vic Beasley. Those guys have to bring it off the edge. Right now, there's no significant threat of a pass rush. I know people wanted them to go defensive tackle right out of the gate in the NFL draft, but they ended up taking 2 offensive linemen to help out their ground game in Caleb McGarry out of Washington and Chris Lindstrom out of Boston College. So they ignored the defensive front seven. People thought they were going to go defensive tackle or maybe edge rusher. That's where they need the help. Can they get pressure? If they can get pressure, then it makes life a lot easier for everyone else on that defense.
It does. I like the offensive line though, because I feel like the Falcons are in a win now mentality. Yes, they need more protection for running, but they also need more protection for Ryan, because Julio is getting up there, Ryan is getting up there. They need to capitalize while they still have him. And to be able to capitalize this season, they're going to have to start strong. In their schedule in the beginning of the season, their first 8 games is fairly hard. They could be out of it quick if they don't get rolling right. Their first 8 games, they're at Minnesota, home against Philly, at Indy, home against Tennessee, at Houston, at Arizona, home against the Rams, home against Seattle, going into their bye. That's a tough run.
And you talk about playing the tough games before the bye, and so that sets up the back end where they have a lot of divisional games. So Atlanta investing those 2 first-round picks in offensive linemen. If they can run the football, they'll close out those games. Their defense will be rested. They'll be able to turn the ball over. But if they can get back to what they were running the football in 2017, this team can get back to the Super Bowl. I have the Falcons finishing 3rd in the NFC South. I don't have a problem with the 2 rookies starting on the right side. I actually think their offense will be just fine. Defensively, I think when you look at what they get back, you have to like their chances in this division. But they're very thin, quite honestly, at linebacker and in the secondary. And those questions right now, and also in the backfield, I don't trust their backfield right now to be able to get back to that 2017 type status. So those questions, for me, keep the Falcons 3rd in the NFC South this year. For the season preview, I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the Playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of our social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to Football Gameplan Podcast on iTunes, where you can find our NFL All 32 podcast, our fantasy football starting lineup, as well as our Scout Team podcast, and leave us a 5-star rating. Also subscribe to the Football Gameplan Network, located at youtube.com/Football Gameplan. Finally, every Thursday and Friday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, be sure to check out the Football Gameplan show on the Game Plus Network. Check with your cable provider for channel listings.